Dane Rudhyar saw the Sabian Symbols as a map of reality. Specifically, he saw it as a time mandala. And he was more interested in the use of the collectivization of these 360 aspects of reality as a map, a life evolutionary map, and suggested to us that we should really master each of the mysteries and explained the mysteries as within a balanced sort of pattern. Aries had the first 15 degrees and then the second 15 degrees, and they meant different things. And we're going to look at that today. One of my colleagues, Nikki Carnarius, is studying the 15 degrees of Aries that makes up the short sort of half zodiac sign that we've just been through with Jupiter. Let me just talk to you about what Rudhyar is saying. The first hemicycle, half a whole circumference of the circle, the hemicycle, is to do with the process of individualization. And this starts with Act 1, differentiation, which he sees Aries, Taurus, and Gemini as. And then Act 2, stabilization, he's giving to Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. In the second hemicycle, we have the process of collectivization, started with group integration, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, and capitalization, he calls it, in Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Each of these zodiac signs has got two halves, and each has the first 15 degrees of Aries, for example, is called desire, and the degrees 16 to 30 is called potency. Taurus would be substantiation and confirmation. Gemini, discovery and exteriorization. So we're looking now at this particularity of Aries. So Aries is within the first hemicycle, the process of individualization, and then the first act of that differentiation, and first half of Aries, desire. And we're looking at the first 15 degrees of Aries with that in mind. This is how we unfold desire in our way of looking at life. So anyway, here's Nikki to tell you the detail of that.
Jupiter has just completed the first 15 degrees of Aries. And so this is a perfect time to talk about the importance of 15-degree groupings to Rudhyar. Rudhyar saw the Sabian Symbols as a ritual drama, sort of like the grand ritual drama that we come to Earth to participate in. And he broke up that ritual drama into 4 acts, and each act is broken up into scenes, and each scene is 15 Sabian symbols long. So Jupiter has just completed the first scene of Aries, and therefore of the zodiac, because as we know, Jupiter has started in Aries on a 12-year cycle that's going to take it through all the signs in the zodiac. So each of these scenes is then broken down into 3 subparts: actional, emotional, cultural, and individual mental. Let's talk about this first scene of 15 degrees that Rudhyar terms desire. So with the first degree, woman rises out of water, a seal rises and embraces her. I see this as the actor first stepping onto the stage. In so much of our life, we are a spectator. We are a member of an audience, but we've come to this earth to play a part on a stage. And Jupiter, the planet of expansion, what a better planet to go through this process with, to really work on a project that's special to you. So almost immediately after walking on stage, we move into Aries degree 2, comedian entertaining a group, where now people are going to start ridiculing you. Another actor perhaps on the stage will start making fun of you for the entertainment of the rest of the audience. And that's something that we have to learn to take in stride, especially working on a new project that Jupiter is a perfect planet to work alongside. You're still going to have to deal with that kind of criticism. And moving into Aries degree 3, cameo profile of a man in the outline of his country. All of a sudden, these actors that were originally ridiculing you, you're now going to have to work with them and get them to see your point of view. But don't worry, because next up we have degree 4, two lovers strolling through a secluded path. So there's going to be people in your country, in your locality. There's going to be those few people that you really feel like you can form unions with to create chemistry, to create that sort of X factor. And that X factor is what emerges through this union of the two lovers. And this is when we move into degree 5, triangle with wings. From the two people coming together, that chemistry emerges. It's a rising up of energy. The triangle with wings. This is the first time in this scene that we're realizing there's something more, there's an unseen world. And that's the conclusion of the actional level, the first 5 degrees. Now we're moving into the second level, and you're going to see that the second level of 5 will correlate with the first level of 5. This is going into the emotional, cultural level. So the 6th degree, a square brightly lighted on one side. And this correlates to the 1st degree of the woman emerging. And you can see how it's, again, you start with a single-minded focus. In this case, this is the development of the ego. It's a step that you have to go through to understand what your point of view is going to be, even though this step will later have to transform. And the transformation process is what we're going to be going through with the ego in this emotional, cultural level. Because with the 2nd degree in this 5-fold unit, we get degree 7, man successfully expressing himself in 2 realms at once. So with a square brightly lighted on one side, what's unsaid is that there's 3 sides that are unlit. And this man who's successfully expressing himself in 2 realms at once, again, this correlates to the comedian. And there is this sort of divine comedy in this degree where even though we have single-minded attention on this physical realm, we also exist on a spiritual realm. And the comedy to that is that we're blinded to that realm, even though we still have to interact in it. And then we move into degree 8, large hat with streamers flying facing east. So you can see this as a woman wearing a hat. She's got the hat covering her. The wind is blowing east, and there's streamers flying behind her. This is correlating with meeting your countrymen, but now it's not only meeting your countrymen, it's also interacting with the spiritual world. And this is sort of like interacting with the audience. If you're an actor and just the stage is lit, all you can see is the stage, but you can hear cheering and booing from an unseen audience, and that's sort of like the wind blowing from the east. And we can, learn to do things where the audience cheers, and that's kind of when we're picking up on synchronicities. But we also have to wear the hat because we have to a degree, shield ourselves from the audience's input, because we did come to this earth to have that single-minded mission in life. And, for your Jupiter project, you can take in the synchronicities that are guiding you, the coincidences that seem a little bit more than coincidences, but you also have to stay true to the initial kernel of the idea that you have. And then that brings us to crystal gazer. And so this is correlating to the 4th degree, which was the lover's degree. Crystal gazer, it doesn't seem to be about lovers at first. It doesn't seem to be about polarities, but I see it as like the crystal gazer sees the whole picture of the psyche, not just the ego, but also the shadow, which is where we put a lot of our polarities that we don't feel we can integrate into the ego. And when we do that, we have desires that are unconscious. And what the crystal gazer is doing is now making those desires conscious. So even though the square may be brightly lit on the one side that is the ego, we have an understanding of the whole picture of who we are, so that we're not doing things that seem odd to us or untoward. We're a whole person, a whole integrated person. And then that brings us to the 5th degree in this level, degree 10, man teaching new forms for old symbols. So now we have a totally new perspective of this square, of this world, but we can still see that it's relevant. The ego is still relevant, even if we know that we have a higher self, because the ego is still our vehicle to get things done in this world. Then we move on to individual mental, the 3rd and final level of this scene, starting with president of the country. So our ego is the president of our country, and a president of a country starts to understand the rules. And a rule for us might be something along the lines of, if we work really hard, we'll be rewarded, we'll get a new job or a raise or whatever we're looking for. But at the next degree, we're moving into the comedy or the contrasting degree. Degree 12, flock of wild geese, which represents the cosmic order. So there's the law and order of the president of the ego, of society, and then there's the cosmic order of the universe that says, sometimes things aren't going to work out according to your plan of what you think is fair. And when that happens, when people realize we don't live in a world where everything's going to be fair, because sometimes tragedies or unexpected things just come your way, that makes people want to lash out, that makes people want to protest. But in a way, we're just sort of like shaking our fists at the infinite when we're so, in this world where we feel insignificant to the infinite's plans. And that brings us to the next degree, degree 13, unsuccessful bomb explosion. And this is sort of an adolescent act of aggression that the ego does when what it's desiring doesn't happen, even though they're doing everything that they think they should. You lash out because you don't understand why things are unfair. And this, I think, is sort of why in Buddhism they say that desire brings suffering. And so you almost feel like, well, should I just give up on desire? But then we move into degree 14, serpent coiling near a man and a woman. And then we see that not all is lost. When we first met the lovers in degree 4, they were strolling together. They could tell there was chemistry between them, but at that stage of development, you don't understand what chemistry is. You think, I'm attracted to this person. Is it physical? What is this? But then in this 14th degree, there's the serpent, which is an added quality. And people are going to think of Adam and Eve and the serpent that brought original sin, but there's an esoteric meaning to that serpent in that it brought this individuation quality to Adam and Eve, and that really it was their shame, the shame that came with individuation, that made them feel like they were sinning. But this individuation was them, through the power of love and through this extra addition of the serpent, becoming more than the sum of their parts. And that's kind of what happens in this level of development. You're introduced to love, and you're introduced to love through the self loving the other and that dynamic moment. But once you are familiar with love, you can start to have a relationship with love itself, and that becomes having a relationship with the cosmic order and this higher expression of desire, which is the expression of love. And first you learn to do that with another person, but then you get to a level of mastery that you're able to do it yourself, and you're channeling the cosmic order into what you're trying to achieve. And this is a great moment in your Jupiter project where you feel like your Jupiter project is, in a way, it's now aligned with the cosmic order. It's now bringing people together. And this is a great moment. We're heading into degree 15, an Indian weaving a blanket. And you can see this as weaving the cosmic order through love to bring something into this, into the play, into this this framework of the earth plane from the infinite plane. And that's that magical element that's really going to elevate everyone that you're working together with on this project. And that's when you're really gonna start to have the ability to make things happen that are greater than yourself. And that's when we move into the second scene, which Rudhyar calls potency.